morning, students. Welcome back to Botany class, Part-2, Chapter 1. Last class, we discussed about characters of living beings. Can you remember the points? The first point we discussed about the growth. What is a growth? Growth is a permanent and irreversible increase in size of an organism which is accompanied by an increase in dry weight or biomass is called growth. Okay. Second point we discussed about the reproduction. Reproduction is a biological process in which an organism gives rise to young ones similar to itself. Third point we discussed about the metabolism, the biochemical process that occur within the living organisms in order to maintain life is called metabolism. The total of all the chemical reactions occurring in our body is called metabolism. There are two types of metabolism. First one, it is the catabolism, example respiration. Second one, anabolism, example photosynthesis. Okay, then next point we discussed about the consciousness. That means it is the ability to sense their surroundings or environment and respond to these environmental stimuli, which could be physical, chemical or biological. Okay, that is called consciousness. The last point we discussed about the characters of living beings is the cellular organization of the body. The body contains the cells. It may be unicellular or it is the multicellular. Individual cells may perform specific functions and also work together for the survival of the entire organism. The cells become dependent on one another. Okay, these are the points we discussed in the last class. Now, today's class, we are going to discuss about the diversity in the living world. Okay, what is the meaning of diversity? Okay, in that around us, looking around, we can see large variety of the living organisms. It may be plants or it may be the animals, or the different types of the plants and the animals in the different forms. Okay, it may be several organisms that you can see with our eyes or cannot see with our naked eyes, like that of the small organisms. If you increase the area that you can make different observations in the variety of the organisms. Okay, it may be different types, each different kind of the plant, animal or organism that you see that represents a species. The number of species that are known and described range between the different millions, the thousands of millions. This refers the biodiversity. The living organisms are different places it is present. That is called living diversity, or the number of and the type of organisms present on earth. We should remember here that we explore new areas and even old ones. New organisms are continuously being identified. Okay. There are millions of plants and animal species are present in the world. Correct, no? Millions of plants are there and also animal species also present in the world. We know about them by their local names or the languages. But as we know, these local names or languages would vary from place to place, even within a country or a state. Probably it would lead to confusion in identifying such organisms. Hence, there is a need to standardize the naming of living organisms in such a way that a particular organism is known to all by the same name all over the world, which is called nomenclature. What is nomenclature? A need to standardize the naming of living organisms such that a particular organism is known by the same name all over the world. This process is called nomenclature. Obviously, nomenclature or naming is only possible when the organism is described correctly and we know to what organism the name is attached to it. This is called identification. In order to facilitate the study, number of scientists have established procedures to assign a scientific name to each known organism. This is acceptable to biologists all over the world. For plants, scientific names are based on agreed principles and criteria which are provided in International Code for Botanical Nomenclature, ICBN, International Code for Botanical Nomenclature for the plants. Then for the animals, animal taxonomists have evolved International Code of Zoological Nomenclature, International Code of Zoological Nomenclature, ICZN. The scientific names ensure that each organism has only one name. Description of any organism should enable the people any part of the world to arrive at the same name. They also ensure that such a name has not been used for any other non-organism. Okay, one organism have, if it is the human beings, can you tell what is the name for the human beings in world accepted? That is called the Homo sapiens. In the world, anywhere if you'll go, human beings we are calling in the English name. In the different languages, it is in the different ones, but it is a world accepted name. It is the universal accepted name is Homo sapiens for the human beings. Biologists follow universally accepted principles to provide scientific names to non-organisms. Each name has two components. Okay, listen, that human beings, Homo sapiens, two names are there. First name, it is called the generic name. The second name, it is called the species name. Homo, it is the genus name. Species name, it is the sapiens. Generic and species name, Homo sapiens. This system of providing a name with the two components is called binomial nomenclature. Bi means two, nomial means name, nomenclature means the entire universe is accepted with that name. Okay, that is called binomial nomenclature. Binomial, naming of an organism into two names. That the two names are, the first name it is the generic name, second it is the species name. This was given by Carolus Linnaeus. Carolus Linnaeus is the father of the taxonomy. Carolus Linnaeus. Okay, now the binomial nomenclature, it is very important, and we'll see that one. What are the rules of binomial nomenclature? It's very important. Biological names are generally in Latin. Okay, it is a Latin language it is, and written in italics. They are Latinized or derived from the Latin irrespective of their origin. Biological names are generally in Latin name but written in italics. Listen, the first word in a biological name represents the, what is that, genus name or the generic name, genus. while the second component is the second word is the species name. Okay, first word the biological name, binomial nomenclature. The first word it is that represents the genus name, and the second word denotes the generic name. The species name. First word genus name, second name it is the species name. Both the words in a biological name, when handwritten, are separately underlined. Okay, this one it's not a separate word, and you have to underline separately, or it is in a printed in italics to indicate their Latin origin. When you take the textbook, we can see that when some names are written in italics, slanting letters, so that it is called, the origin is different. They are the Latin origin. Because of that, they are printed in italics. See this one, the rules are very, very important. And again, one more rule is there. The first word denoting the genus starts with the capital letter, while the specific or the species name starts with a small letter. It can be explained with one example. We can write Homo sapiens. H should be capital letter, S should be small letter. Okay, again I'll repeat one more time the characters, the rules of binomial nomenclature. It is very, very, very important. Biological names are generally in Latin and written in italics. If they are Latinized or derived from Latin, irrespective of their origin. Second point, the first word in a biological name represents the genus name, and the second word denotes the species name. Both the words in a biological name, when handwritten, are separately underlined or printed in italics to indicate their Latin origin. The fourth point, the first word denoting the genus starts with a capital letter, while the species name starts with a small letter. We should follow strictly this one. Okay, another one more example we can take, mango. Can you tell that mango biological name? That is the Mangifera indica. The Mangifera, it is the genus name, and the indica, it is the species name. Underline separately, Mangifera underline separately, and indica again separately. M should be capital letter and the I should be small letter. Mangifera indica, that is the mango. Since it is nearly impossible to study all the living organisms, it is necessary to derive some means to make this possible. This process is known as the classification. What is classification? It is the process by which anything is grouped into convenient categories based on some easily observable characters. Okay, some common characters we'll take and we can group into them in a particular group. That is called classification. Okay, classification. It is very important for the naming of an organism. First group of organisms. Here it is that we can call based on the characteristics. All living organisms can be classified into different groups or taxa. This process of classification is called taxonomy. What is taxonomy? Taxonomy is a branch of biology that deals with the study of identification, classification and naming of an organisms. Okay, listen. First we should classify which group it is. First it is identification, then it is group identify, it is a plant or animal, and which living organism or whatever it is. First identification, then classify which group it is, then we are giving the naming of an organism. That is called taxonomy. What is taxonomy? Taxonomy is a branch of biology that deals with the study of identification, classification and naming of an organism. Carolus Linnaeus is the father of taxonomy. Okay, Carolus Linnaeus is the father of taxonomy. Okay, human beings are interested to knowing more about different kinds of organisms and their diversities, but also the relationship among them. The branch of study was referred to as systematics. The word systematics is derived from the Latin word or systema, which means systematic arrangement of organisms. Taxonomy, systematic arrangement of organisms. Carlos Linnaeus used, he have one publication, one book he wrote, he gave the name Systema Naturae. The scope of systematics was later enlarged to include identification, classification, and nomenclature, giving the name of an organism. Systematics takes into account evolutionary relationship between the organisms. Okay.